Welcome everyone to the Stone Age Gamer. Today's episode is episode 26, and we'll be talking about racially insensitive games. Today I have with me Dan.
Good evening.
Tiff.
Hi.
And, oh, well, there's no one else here. Chris is actually not with us today. He is relocating his domicile, so he is currently in the midst of moving all his stuff around and everything. Computer's just not where it's supposed to be, and he had to take the night off. So I'll be your host for the night, and I'm Dean. Am I Dean? I think I'm Dean. Maybe I should be Chris.
No, don't be Chris.
Okay.
No one should ever be. Chris shouldn't even be Chris.
He has his power level is too high. I don't think I could reach that level.
It's over like 7.
I think it's over 9.
1,000?
Yes.
No, just 9.
No, just level 9. Okay, so we got some really cool games lined up, and I guess since I'm the host, I'm gonna go last this week. So Dan, I would like to start with you.
Oh man.
I know. All right, no, Dan, fuck you. I'm gonna be insensitive, not racially insensitive, just insensitive.
Oh, that was racially insensitive. I'm Spanish. I'm gonna take that as an affront.
Oh,
Bullpucky.
easy. Okay, Tiff, why don't you tell us what you got?
Okay, my favorite culturally insensitive game, or racially insensitive, however you want to say it, is Freaky Fliers. Freaky Fliers came out for Xbox, PS2, and GameCube, and is this side of Punch-Out probably the most racist game ever. It's pretty much a kart game, a kart racing game, except instead of in karts, you're in airplanes. They had a pretty unique kind of twist on it in that there were multiple things going on in each race. So you were racing to be in first place, and you could pick up specials to be able to, the proverbial bananas and blue shells and whatnot, but obviously specific to a more airplane type theme. But you could also shoot your other opponents just with your machine guns. And also there were like little side missions in each race. So like, I don't know, you could rescue a dude or knock down some trees as you're racing by, and if you completed each of these little sub-goals, you would get little boosts and power-ups and all kinds of fancy stuff that made it kind of a really interesting take on a kart game. The problem is that the characters in this game are so bananas offensive, I don't even think it's possible that they didn't do it on purpose.
Do they have fancy racist names and everything, too, to
They
go along
do.
with it?
They do. There is Mick Bungadoo. He is from the Australian outback, where he spends most of his time cooking up roadkill.
Of the famous Bungadoo family, obviously.
There is Myrna Bookbottom, who is the proper, well-mannered, soft-spoken British woman. There is Sanitation Paulie, who is a mob boss who runs a sanitation company as a front for his crimes. There's Johnny Turbine, who is the American, the big, burly, westward, rides a horse and herds cattle, but also is somehow a blonde movie star American. There is Tracy Torpedoes, who is arguably the main character of the game. She is German to a point. Throughout the game, you actually learn that she was engineered by the German Air Force as a, shall we say, super race. She is fighting to win the races for the pride of the German Air Force.
Wait, by buying this game, are people supporting the Nazi agenda?
I don't know. It gets so much better. Just wait.
Okay.
And specifically with her, just as a little aside, there's little cutscenes that give you like the backstory and the history of these characters as you're playing like through the adventure mode. And when you're playing with Miss Torpedoes, the announcer is in German, and in typical German fashion, he is speaking kind of, calmly and whatever, and saying, like, Miss Torpedoes, you shall win the fight for the glorious German people, and we shall dominate everything. And he just like starts screaming in this stereotypically Nazi fashion. It's kind of really, really terribly racist.
That's a little. Just,
oh
my
yeah.
God.
Oh, just wait. We have only touched the tip of the torpedo here. We have.
See what you did there.
Yeah,
her torpedoes, by the way,
are quite bouncy.
You know what?
Dead or Alive has nothing on Miss Torpedoes.
Well, it was GameCube, so they were a little boxy, but still. All right, so then we have Andre Latoilette. He is a French Canadian lumberjack who enslaves small woodland creatures and uses them as ammunition, and meaning that he actually picks up squirrels and beavers and shoves them in his log gun and fires them at people. He's also very stinky because he's French Canadian, and that means he doesn't shower. We have Cactus Rose, and she's from Mexico, so she, has kind of an apple bottom and wears a little tight bustier type top and speaks.
She sounds like Rosie Perez from White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't think I could handle that.
And
for
her
the whole game.
airplane is actually a chopper motorcycle, but it flies for some reason.
I was really hoping you were going to do your Rosie Perez impersonation.
No, I'm not. No, I'm.
Wait. You have a Rosie. Come on, please.
It's so good.
Please.
It's so good.
I can't do it if you're going to put all this pressure on me.
There's no pressure. I'm just saying that would be great.
You're so stupid. Moving on, we have Island Jack.
That was racist.
Island Jack is our token black guy, if you will. He is the one and only black character. He is Jamaican. Wears a Rastafarian hat, is covered in dreadlocks, and by covered, I mean covered. I think his clothes are actually made out of his dreadlocks. And the most fun part about him is that at the beginning of his cutscene, you actually see him lounging on the beach, at which point he is kidnapped and forced into the airplane and made to fly the plane against his will. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, he is a slave.
By the chief of his tribe, no less. Like, the chief of his tribe.
No, it's just an Indian chief. Race. I don't even know why the Indian chief is there.
I don't know. I took that to mean that was his tribe. I don't know.
That's a little racist.
I think they're mixing too many cultures together. And
oh my
just
god,
got
it's so many. Then we have Sheikh Abdul, he speaks with an Indian accent, but he's wearing a turban and has a giant Jewish-looking nose, and his airplane is a flying carpet.
He's on a flying goddamn carpet.
It's just
amazing.
I mean, it had to have been on purpose. Sammy Wasabi is the genius Japanese. His airplane is called the Kamikaze Special.
Oh my god.
And
it's an airplane game?
Oh yeah. His fucking voice is like every stereotypically bad, like, oh, look at you, hello, like,
it's like
awful...
it's Mickey Rooney from fucking Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's so
it's awful.
And even like I didn't even think it was possible for a location to be racist, but even the levels. The first level that you're on is like Bigfoot Mountain or something, and this level you're in Canada, and you're in the mountains and there's snow and there's like acorns everywhere and beavers flying around, and you're looking for Bigfoot as like the side mission, and I think there's like a maple syrup waterfall at some point. It's bananas. It's just bananas. And I have a lot of questions. Because the people that made this game were either really, really stupid, or maybe they were like trying to be funny, but then I think maybe they took it a little too far. It's so crazy.
Who made the game again?
Midway.
No.
Yes, and this came out in 2003. Like, I will give it to you on the retro games of people being really insensitive and really racist, and, well, okay, but they were from a different time and people were dumb then or didn't care or whatever. But this came out in 2003 for PlayStation 2 and Xbox. And it is just...
I gotta agree. To be honest, when I was looking for games and I put in racially insensitive games, I checked a few lists to see what came up, and that one came up on every single list.
I don't know how it could not.
It's fucking terrible. The Japanese guy's plane is named the Kamikaze Special.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad choice.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's horrendously offensive.
Oh, there's a French mime, but he's a Siamese twin. I don't even know what's going on with that. Like, did you guys find some kind of obscure like cultural stereotype that like we're not even aware of? Like, I don't even know what's going on with that.
Oh yeah, everybody knows French people are all Siamese twins.
Obviously, in some way or another, just in different parts of their body.
How do you think they're able to roll croissants so efficiently? They have 4 hands.
True story. True story. That's actually the science behind it.
It's fact.
Yep,
It's a
pretty
fact.
much.
Sure.
In fact, we're gonna start the Cosmos version of Geek Life. We're just gonna state facts all day. None of them are going to be true, but
Fact. All French people are Siamese twins. Bet you didn't know that shit.
oh man, we could charge millions for that. It'll be great. We'll just have an encyclopedia out, just full of nonsense.
I love it. What a great idea.
So
Yeah.
It's just such a shame because the actual gameplay is really clever and it's really a lot of fun, but it is so hard to get past that nonsense that I mean, like halfway through racing a level when you're on it the first time, you just keep dying because, well, if you're anything like a decent human being, you just have to keep putting the controller down and go, what did I just fly by? What just happened here?
What am I even doing with my life?
all right, so let's sum this up. Tiff, on a scale of 1 racism to 10 racisms or racially insensitive points, how many does this get?
Oh,
You got to grade
you
honest
know,
because 10's pretty extreme. 10's the most extreme.
I'm gonna
you can
give it
go.
a 7.5, and I will
7.5.
only score it that low because I feel like maybe they were trying to be ironic or like kind of tongue-in-cheek funny. They just missed it completely and just ended up face planting right in what the fuck.
Well, maybe that's the way it started, and then it just got to the point where it was like, well, we're in too deep now. We just have to make this all terrible.
Let's just go for it, guys. Let's just go for it.
Yeah, I guess I can appreciate. No, I can't appreciate that. I'm sorry. You can't be that.
No, it's just
insensitive.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
Well, Tiff, thank you very much. That was a awesome game to bring up because if that one didn't come up, I was thinking about just mentioning it as an honorable mention. But I'm glad it came up. Dan, you have an old standby for us. I understand.
Well, yeah, and like what you're saying is, Freaky Fliers is like we're trying to go for this tongue in cheek, and isn't this going to be kind of quaint and funny? And look, we're making fun of God, where this is just really offensive. So let's go headlong into it. Whereas the game that I wanted to bring out, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, or just Punch Out the arcade version, because you have to include that for pizza pasta. I don't think that game was made with the intention of being somewhat offensive. I think they were going for...
No, I think they were actually just racist.
Yeah, well, that's... Well, I don't know. It was made in Japan, and from what I've learned from television shows is that only white people can be racist.
What?
True. Very true.
So, I mean, and television wouldn't lie.
80s America, all about cocaine and racism.
Yeah, basically. But, like, when you look at the Punch-Out series, it has certainly pastiches of cultural nonsense.
I don't think you can pluralize that word.
What, pastiches?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can either. I did, though. Fuck it.
Moving on.
Like, when you look at the roster of this game, they kind of take sort of the worst aspects of different cultures and bring them to the front. Like, the very first boxer that you face in Punch-Out is Glass Joe. And he is just awful. Like, if you've ever lost to Glass Joe playing Punch-Out, you need to stop playing video games.
Hang up your gloves, friend.
Yeah, you're done. This isn't for you. Like, he is a Frenchman. He is weak. He is extremely easy to beat. He's kind of a coward. He kind of ducks away from you. Right? He has a very weak attack. Right? His name is Glass Joe.
I don't know that I ever really realized that he was French. I thought that was a pun on Glass Jaw, and he was just a weenie.
It came out more in the Wii version than it did in the NES version because the only other hint you had was reading his bio that said he was from France.
Right. But then after Glass Joe, you go on to Von Kaiser.
Yeah.
Right? The fucking guy's name is Von Kaiser. Like, he's got a big...
There's no mistake in that.
Burly German mustache. Like, his boxing trunks are the brown of the German World War II uniforms.
Doesn't he come out to the Valkyrie
Flight of the
song?
Valkyries? Yeah. Which is pretty terrible. And, like, but again, like, it was kind of... it was kind of cute and kind of quaint. Like even Piston Honda, which like get it, Piston Honda, because like Hondas are cars and there's engines and stuff. Like his eyes in this game, like that. Even when I was a kid, like playing this game, I was like, these are kind of funny. But that's borderline fucking racist, man. Like, because his eyes are way too slanted, and they kind of like go up and down when he's about to throw a punch in a very like really offensive way. When you play, like it's just really offensive. And he's gonna, like, if you read his trash talk in between the fights, I'm gonna send you a TKO from Tokyo and that sort of thing, and that's kind of silly. But the eyes were really bad. But you've just got this incredible roster of characters. Looking at the arcade version, you have the Italian guy, Pizza Pasta, which like those are foods.
That's not even a name.
That's
dude.
not even a name. It's like my son, Cheeseburger Milkshake. Fucking American boxer. We got like it's so ridiculous, and he's kind of like a tubby Italian dude, and he comes out, and Bald Bull from Istanbul, Turkey, and King Hippo, the really fat guy from the Pacific Islands, which that's just not fair. Like he's an islander.
They don't even have hippos.
Yeah, really. Like that's just super offensive. I think the most offensive one though, like looking back at it in retrospect, may be Great Tiger.
Oh, I disagree. I was going to say Soda Popinski.
Well, all right. Soda Popinski originally in the arcade version, Vodka Drunkinsky, which they had to change for the Nintendo release.
Best name ever.
But giant drunk Russian man.
Just a giant drunk Russian who, when he beats you, and he will beat you, flexes his pecs at you in a very kind of scary, suggestive manner, and laughs this really evil, like, bad shit's about to go down, boy, kind of laugh. But like he's kind of pink and drunk. I don't know. I always thought he was kind of awesome. But like Great Tiger,
of course he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a big drunk Russian. Great Tiger, I always thought was borderline too far though. You have an Indian man in a turban in a boxing ring, and the jewel on his turban lights up before he's about to do some shit. Like he's a magical Indian man.
Like he's
a Swami.
Fortunes for a quarter.
Yeah, like he's a fortunes for the quarter. I love quarters.
Oh, but yeah, what was that thing in the what's that called?
The Great Xandar? Zandu?
Yes, Xandar.
Zoltar.
Well, it took us a few tries, but we got it.
There you go. Hey, edit those out. We'll get it on the first try.
Perfect.
First try.
Be like Batman in the Lego movie. First try. But like, you have this guy, and it's like, all right, dude, like, why would you wear that in a boxing ring? That just doesn't make any sense tactically.
Well,
yeah.
Let's not. I gotta give Nintendo credit, because not only did they do it once and they got away with it, they did it twice with essentially the same exact game, and they got away with it. They did it 3 times, because the first Punch Out. And then the second Punch-Out wasn't much better on the SNES. I remember one of the first guys you face, Bear Hugger.
Yeah, the big Canadian guy.
Yeah, and he just...
and Dragon Chan.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bruce Lee ripoff.
Yeah, they're all pretty racist.
Yeah, each time Punch-Out has come out, it's been, this send-up of cultural stereotypes. And again, I don't really think most people play Punch-Out and are like, that's really offensive, you shouldn't do that. Whereas like Freaky Fliers, like, that's really offensive.
That
you
actually is really offensive.
Yeah, that's just actually really too far. I don't know. I love the Punch-Out games. And like I said, when I was a kid playing it, I thought the Piston Honda one was a little far. I thought Great Tiger was a little far. But like the rest of them, like I never even looked at Soda Popinski and was like, that's an offensive stereotype. They shouldn't be doing that.
Well,
or Don Flamenco, the Spanish man,
when a lot of us,
in his mouth.
Yeah, but when a lot of us were kids and playing this game, did we know that it was a somewhat insensitive stereotype that Russians are drunkards? And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know that we felt that way in playing Punch-Out back in the day, because we were too young to know what stereotypes were.
I don't know. I did see the documentaries Spies Like Us and Red Heat. and there were lots of drunk Russians in those.
Red Dawn.
Red Heat. It's Jim Belushi and Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right, never mind.
Two polar opposites of each other. One the pinnacle of health, and the other one a fat slob.
Pretty much.
I have nothing
Red
against
Heat's
Jim
a fucking
Belushi.
great
I
movie.
actually like him, but he's no Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, he certainly isn't, especially back then. But anyway, so yes, Punch-Out is... I think we can call Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out and Punch-Out for the Wii, which I haven't played yet, but we'll be playing like next week, maybe. I think those are charmingly offensive.
Dan, what would you rate it then out of 10?
Oh, on a scale of 1 to Hitler?
Yes.
I would say...
Stalin? Mussolini?
I was gonna say maybe Mussolini. That's a bit hard though. He killed his own people, like hung them in the square.
All right, one out of 10.
1 out of 10. Let's go with that. I would say it's like a 2.
Okay, yeah, because it's cutesy. I get it. It's not to the point of being. People can look back at it now and be like, yeah, that was a little much, But
well, and
maybe you shouldn't have. But
to be fair, the most kind of negative stereotypes that are in there are like the Russian character and whatnot. And at the time, everyone was kind of on board with the Russia hating. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of a thing.
True. I agree.
Yeah, it was Russia's turn in the global lottery to be hated at that point in the 80s.
Well, it happens. I guess that comes to me now. Oh boy. I got something special to talk about here. A game that came out in the late 80s, in the time of the NES and the computer, or early computer, and it is Tom Sawyer, made by Square. Now, just by the cover alone, I was like, "Oh man, I am in for it. This is not gonna be good." Just real quick going over the game. It's an RPG. Tom Sawyer, the RPG. It's a turn-based RPG. The bad guys pop up, you fight them. It's Tom Sawyer and Jim versus the world, and it's interesting. It was all in Japanese, so I kind of just picked up the ROM and sort of, stumbled through it till I could figure out the mechanics and everything. It's an interesting game, but it's pretty straightforward and whatnot. However, the reason it is racist, and oh man, is it racist, is because Jim in the game is he looks like Jinx from Pokemon. That's the best way to put it. The man is the color straight black, like on the color wheel in paint. He is 0000000. He has white eyes, and when I say white eyes, I mean no pupils, just white eyes, all white, nothing else. And then on top of that, his body is 40% lip. There is nothing else, nothing but lip, black face, lip, 2 white dots for eyes. It's terrible.
Don't forget about his red hair, sir.
Red hair.
Yeah, and his redhead. Sorry.
And why are his lips stripy?
I think it was just to make them stand out, or to make people realize it was lips, because his lips are brown. So if they didn't put any stripes there, it would probably just look like he had 2 pieces of poop for his lips. So, and that would be even more insulting.
And the fine people at Square thought that was too far. Like, oh well, we can't have the guy with shit on his face. Let's put some stripes on it.
It was bad, man. It was nothing was good about that character design. And the thing is, they kept the character design on the cover. It wasn't like, oh hey, we just don't know how to make an African American for graphics. No, he is that way on the cover. He is like a charcoal black. He has big old lips, white pupils again, and reddish brown hair. And I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
He's really scary.
Yeah,
like he looks like a goblin or something.
Yeah, it's.
And
it's
the crazy
not cool,
thing
man.
is there's like 2 or 3 other black characters on the cover,
and they look
that don't
completely
look
normal,
like
don't
that.
they? Yeah, it seems
now,
like
I wonder, looking at the cover art for the box. It's done in an anime style. I don't know if this was based on a show, perhaps, but like the design for Tom, or for Jim, I mean, is very similar to Master Po or Popo from Dragon Ball Z.
Right, right.
Like just like black, like not African American skin tone, but he's just black with giant lips and like
Right, but you don't put the supporting character who's a slave as how they would be
Yeah.
depicted
no,
in the
you're right.
like in the 1700s. That is just terrible and insensitive and something you don't
When-
do in the 80s.
When was this game made?
1989.
Okay, so like they should have known better.
Yes, they should
Yeah.
have. And the thing is, I don't see anywhere that this was made or based on any manga or anything like that. It says the game is directly based on Mark Twain's renowned novel, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
All right.
Wow.
I mean, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
No, I got all the fact. Well, I got the Wikipedia facts. So I mean, someone corrected me if I'm wrong. I very well could be. I'm looking at Wikipedia for this,
That's
so
amazing.
I
Now,
don't.
Wikipedia is truth, man.
Could be. I just reading here. It's been ranked on multiple websites as one of the most racist games of all time. Yeah, it's the portrayal of an African American as a black-faced character. And when was the last time you saw anyone doing that? Before
The
18,
20s?
yeah, you know that it's incredible that they could get away with this in almost 1990. This came out March 19th, 1989. You know, so
It's really goddamn
That's
insane. Like when you look at it,
crazy.
especially, and what I really wonder about it though is, because there are characters like on Dragon Ball Z, and then you look at the depiction of Jim in this game. Do we find it so crazy offensive because as white Americans, we have been raised to believe, and probably rightfully so, that blackface is like the single most offensive thing we can do? And
No,
is
I
that
think we
not
find
the
that-
case
I think we
around the
find that
world?
offensive because it is highlighting what could be seen as comical and or negative physical attributes and using that as the basis for his identity.
yeah. And the other thing is that if I could understand if they did all the characters that way, and that's just the design they were going for. No, they singled him out.
Yeah, that's well,
Yeah.
I'm looking at a screen cap here and there is a farmer here that looks an awful lot like Ron Jeremy. And that's creepy for a whole
Well,
other-
now I want to play the game because who doesn't want to be Ron Jeremy?
I'm sure there's definitely. You're probably not going to see this on the Nintendo store anytime soon, but
This isn't coming to the eShop.
no, I don't think so. For good fucking reason.
Never mind, honey. Return the Wii U. If I can't get the Adventures of Tom Sawyer, I'm not interested.
Ah, damn. Sorry, Dan. I'm sorry I spoiled the majesty of the Wii U for you. But yeah, I'm surprised that a company that made such great games like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, stuff like that came out with a game like this.
Yeah, it's
I'm just like I'm searching for some sort of a justification.
No, there is no justification.
There's not. And like how do you go to work every day and code your little heart out to create that? And nowhere along the line did anyone go, maybe we should rethink this. Like he's so black that he is actually the absence of color. Like if you look at him,
Oh yeah.
when he's on like the black background when he's speaking, his skin is actually just not colored. Like he's just the black background.
Oh yeah, I saw it, and that's in multiple things. Like in the fight scenes when he's facing away from the screen, he's an outline, and it's pretty bad.
Oh.
Yeah, not cool.
I think the bigger question
Like this
here
goes beyond like, isn't it funny these people are like, I'm just kind of bummed out now that like something like this exists.
Well, really, I mean, the bigger question is, not only is this incredibly racially offensive, and it is, why the fuck would you make a game based on Tom Sawyer?
Yeah,
That's
how's
true.
that fun?
Like, what a terrible idea, just from the get-go.
Yeah, I agree. And how does that translate, like, in Japan? I think that's a pretty quintessentially American South kind of story? Like, did people in Japan read that book and be like, yeah, that really resonates with me on a personal level?
I don't
Like,
I don't
how
think
would they have any concept of that whatsoever?
I think someone pretty much just picked up the book, stared at it, and they're like, yeah, we could
Yeah.
This is
make
a
something
thing.
out of this. Yeah, why not? It's just some crazy guy with his buddy, and we're gonna make him fight crazy animals, and they're gonna level up, and
And they're gonna level
go.
up.
Is
Yep,
there
that's
like
it.
a fence painting mini game in this somewhere?
Oh, there better be.
Or was that Huck Finn? Am I crossing my Mark Twains?
I don't know. I don't like Mark Twain, so.
I'm not a fan.
I like I said, it's a weird thing, and one would assume this would be an adventure game and not an RPG, but nope, turn-based role-playing game. That's a thing.
That's just a visual book. Like, just read it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
actually
no,
a
I'd
thing
have
in
to
Japan,
agree.
though.
The graphics chip in your head is so much better.
Well.
Yeah, so
All right,
that's
on a scale of 1 to Hitler.
I'd have to go. This is all right.
That's pretty bad.
This is gonna be a little low, but I'm gonna have to call it a 6, mainly because it's one character out of the entire game. And the rest of it is pretty innocently made, besides the one character. If you can get past the one character, which you probably can't because he's there all the time, it's a pretty straightforward role-playing game. It's unfortunately there's really nothing else wrong with it besides that. So I'd have to say a 6. But I mean, basing that on one character, that game getting 6 points strictly based on the design of one character, I'd say that's a pretty damn important 6 points.
It appears to me that at some point during this Adventures of Tom Sawyer game from 1989, that there is an Indian chief on the Loch Ness Monster?
Oh, yeah, again, fact.
Okay.
That's,
I
People
cannot
of Cosmos.
confirm or deny if that happens.
Okay. Let's just go ahead and, on the record, not recommend this game for its sheer lunacy. Okay, carry on.
So, to tie it all back to what was the inspiration for this week's topic of racially insensitive games. Here in the good old USA, the week that this podcast is put online for the masses to enjoy will be the week of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, the time when we give thanks for the just awful shit that the colonists did to the Native Americans who were already here. The game that perfectly captures that, and possibly the most racially insensitive game that there has ever been, is Custer's Revenge, also known as Westward Ho, also known as The White Man Came. In this game, you play General Custer, famous for, dying at Custer's last stand. And in this
Less famous for not ever wearing clothes, apparently.
Yeah. In this game, you play a naked... Now, this is an Atari 2600 game, so the graphics are relatively crude by modern standards. But this game came out in 1982. And you play a naked General Custer wearing boots and a cowboy hat and a giant erection.
And a snappy red bandana originally.
A giant fucking erection. It's insane.
Yeah, it's bigger than his arm.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pixels.
Yeah, like most of the pixels in this game are dedicated to General Custer's penis. And the point of this game is to move from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, dodging arrows, so that when you get to the right side of the screen, you can rape a Native American woman tied to a pole.
It's still a cactus.
Maybe it was supposed to be a cactus.
It's a cactus.
It looks like a goddamn pole. It is so insane that this actually exists. Like, we live in a world now where in the Grand Theft Auto 5 re-release for the current generation consoles, you can have first-person simulated sex from a hooker in your car. This is somehow worse than that.
I don't understand. I have a lot of questions regarding plot. I'm not
Like, the plot of the game is to rape.
No,
That's the plot. Like, go rape that woman.
I see this. Like, are
That's
we saying
insane.
this is after, like, Wounded Knee? Like, he's coming back and he's like, oh, look, I was humiliated and I lost and all this, so now I get to have sex with the women? Maybe? I don't know.
And, like, I don't know. But, like, what may be even
Well, where
more
did this even
offensive
come
than
from?
that is that in one of the game modes, you control the Native American woman, and the goal is to dodge arrows to go have sex willingly with General Custer.
Well, clearly the interracial sex is the goal here. But why?
But I don't think it... Like, I'm going to speak for the Native American people and say that at that time, none of them wanted to fuck General Custer.
All right, well, let's throw some facts down here. Way back in the early 80s, there was no ESRB. There was no restriction
Sure.
on games. Companies could do whatever they want. This wasn't a normal company. Let's firstly put this out here that made this game. This is Mystique.
Sure.
And this is what they did. They made these type of games. Not rape games, but they made adult video games.
Let's clarify, they weren't the rape company.
Probably just as bad as that. Yeah, this company, this is what they did. They made these type of games. So if you're asking yourselves, why would someone do that? Their main reason for doing that was to make money. This was an actual game that was produced by a company, and this is all they did. This was not a game that Atari thought was a good idea, or, any reasonable company making this for games was a good idea. This was not marketed to kids. This was not something like Punch-Out or Freaky Fliers. This was a game that was never on shelves for any kid to ever get.
Sure.
But even so, like...
My questions here come from, like, I get the pixelated sex. Anytime any new technology comes along, it is a very short leap until somebody tries to use it for some sort of sex-related thing. My question comes from the actual Custer theme here. I mean, there are any number of situations that you could find yourself in, wherein one partner is trying to get to the other side of the screen to the other partner. But why Custer? And why this poor Indian woman?
Well, I don't think it was necessarily... It could have been called anything. I mean, as we're talking about here, it was also known as Westward Ho and the White Man Came. So Custer's Revenge just came up because Custer died. It was catchy. Whatever. That's what they went with. I don't think they really could have given a shit if they called it Grant's Revenge or whatever, anything like that. It really wouldn't have mattered. They just needed a character. Sort of sounded good. Let's do it. That's what they went with.
But making it Custer is so goddamn offensive. God!
I'm so confused by this that I'm not even offended. I'm just baffled.
Puzzled.
I just want to have a meeting, maybe. Like, I just want to get some people together and just explain the thought process behind this. Because, I feel like maybe you need some therapy.
It's just insane to me that something like that exists. Like, I see stuff like this and I go, it's...
I just pulled up the Mystique Company Wikipedia page. And very apropos, right at the top of the page, it says, this page has some issues.
It certainly does. I don't know, like, I see this kind of shit and I'm like, man, it's a good thing. It's a good thing we have, like, a ratings board. We really should have one. We should have had one then. Big government is good, kids.
Again, I'm all about porn. Yay, whatever.
Well, sure.
But I just have a lot of questions. I just want to have been in that meeting where they were like, dude, I have an excellent idea.
Well, I've watched a few documentaries and stuff about the gaming or companies like this in the 80s, and most of them were very not give a fuck about anything, working weird hours, drinking on the job and stuff. What was not normal back then. So
I just logistically, the sheer size of his dick. Like, what poor guy's job was that? To pixelate
his penis?
Pixelate Custer's schlong. Like, and did somebody come in and like 17 pixels, Johnson? That's far too small. 27 pixels. This is General Custer we're talking about.
He's an American hero.
He's an American man. Goddamn hero, son.
Oh god.
Make his dick bigger.
All right.
Okay. Well, getting off the sex games and back to our culturally insensitive topic.
Anyway, but that is culturally insensitive.
Well,
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
All right. I have another avenue to broach to see what you guys think about this. Let's move over to like traditional fighting games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and whatnot. Do we feel that those are somewhat culturally and or racially insensitive, particularly in characters like Dalsim, some of the Asian quote unquote kung fu characters? Did we find any of those to be offensive, or were they maybe just too simplistic?
I think it was too simplistic, rather.
Too one-dimensional?
Yeah, because
I never found Street Fighter offensive at all.
Because there's no actual personality to the characters. The personalities that we made were developed much after the fact. I mean, you have what do you call it? Some stuff, some of the animes and everything that tend to give them more of a fleshed out personality, but they're not racist in any way, not at all. And I mean, while the designs, I guess, could be a little racist, I don't think they're intended that way. It was just, hey, we need all these different characters from around the world. Let's do something. Now, people pointed out Balrog as being racist, Blanca, Dalsim. All right, fine.
Okay, well, Blanca's green, so you can't really,
people were like,
well,
"Oh,
he's a Brazilian, and they're all animals."
Yeah, that's the point they were getting at, because I read an article that kind of perused over Street Fighter, and okay, I understand what you're getting at, but it's a very, very simplistic topic. You're kind of grabbing at straws.
I tend to agree with you that they're much more one-dimensional than they are stereotypical necessarily. Just because the only fact that you know about this particular character happens to be stereotypical doesn't necessarily mean that this is a stereotype. Does that make sense? Like,
I think so. The only one that I ever thought was sort of racially insensitive was Dalsim. Mostly just because in a game that seemed, and this is sort of strange to say, but relatively grounded in reality, of like,
you have the Indian mystic that can float and play Mr. Fantastic.
And shoot fire and breathe fire out of his mouth and can stretch his limbs, and it was like, because he does yoga. Like, I always found that was a little... because he's a yoga master, he can stretch.
I have a hard time saying that he is racist or stereotypical because I don't know any Indian people that can do that. Like, is that an Indian stereotype that they have Mr. Fantastic arms?
You know the Indians. They're very stretchy. They eat a lot of curry, so naturally fire breath.
I mean, I'm somewhat concerned by his outfit, but that's about the most that I think could be said about that.
I mean, you could say the same thing about any of them. Guile, he literally has 2 American flags on his body tattooed, one on each bicep. It doesn't really get much more screaming American than that. He works for the United States Air Force, a colonel, I believe, or something like that. Might be
Colonel Guile.
Colonel Guile. There we go. I could be wrong there. Chris, forgive me. Because I think he has a different. I think what it is he has a different rank in the game than he does like in other media. So I could be.
I was about to say I think every time he pops up, he's a little bit different.
Yeah. So I could be wrong, but
he's a master sergeant at this point. I don't know. Is that higher than colonel?
No, not at all.
General would be.
Master sergeants are like the ones that come recruit at your high school.
So Ken, a blonde kid from California. Again, there's slight stereotypes. But
I would think the most that you could be angry about that is the fact that Ken, the blonde kid from California, comes in and whoops everybody at their own native art kind of thing. Somehow kind of indicating an American superiority is what I meant there.
I think when you look at something like Street Fighter 2 specifically, it's stereotypical as opposed to insensitive or racist, right? Like stereotypes exist because they're fucking true a lot of times. You know, like stereotypes becomes
Well,
the
but
like
even beyond that, I would say the average romantic comedy out there is more stereotypical in place to type more
sure.
than Mortal Kombat does.
No, but I'm saying like you look at E Honda as a character, he's Japanese and he's a sumo wrestler. Well, yeah,
That's
there's
where
not a
sumo
lot of
came from.
there's not a lot of French sumo
Right.
wrestlers. You know, that would be ridiculous to have that. So, sure, the Japanese
Right,
guy's a sumo wrestler.
They're not saying that all Japanese people are sumo wrestlers, but they're saying that this sumo wrestler is Japanese.
Yeah, you know, so like I said, I think it's more stereotyping as opposed to just outwardly racist.
Oh, yeah, no,
Now,
I agree.
The difference there would be that if E Honda's name had been like Ching Chong Chang, that would be offensive. Sort of in the same way that the Italian man named Pizza Pasta is a little like, what are you doing?
Right, that's offensive.
Right, just to wrap this up, there's plenty of games out there, and we can go on for a while about this, but the thing is that I guess companies tried things and really just didn't think it through, and some things do slip through the cracks like this. I'm sure if Square looked back at that game like Tom Sawyer now, they would have been like, how the hell did this ever get past any of us? Hopefully, as you guys have seen, hopefully they've died down a lot, and there aren't a lot of games out there like that anymore. We've gone to a more content-centric and very, user-friendly sort of interface with games now than any time in the past. And stuff like these games that we're talking about don't really come along all that often. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but they certainly don't come along all that often. It's terrible to, see racially insensitive things like this out there. And, we're happy just as a website in general that stuff like this doesn't get out anymore. And with that, Dan, why don't you send us off with all the lovely things that we do for the end.
If you like what you just heard, go on over to www.g33klife.com. It's geeklife.com. You can check out all our podcasts, all our articles, all our videos right there in one handy-dandy website. If you have a question for us, if you want to tell us about your favorite racially insensitive game, is there something crazy that we missed? Are you listening to this going, how the fuck could you not have mentioned Jinx from Pokemon? There's a link right there on the website. Drop us a line, send us a question, let us know what you think. While you're there, subscribe to the podcast, give us a like, give us a rating.
Right. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us at Geek Life, and we'll catch you guys next week on another episode of the Stone Age Gamer.